they said you had, and we've lived through this, they might pause your ads for up to 3 days if you make any changes to this.
So this is the dynamic checklist for iOS privacy updates and maybe other operating system OS updates as we move forward, and the steps currently, at least today, 7/22/21, probably for the next couple weeks here or couple months, to what we want to do right now is make sure that we're not just having a pixel on our site. We need to be integrated in with Conversions API. Period. End of story. Because what that does is that integrates in with Facebook's integration with Apple's API. If we don't have that, we're outside of the bounds of the Apple API integration. So Conversions API is where we absolutely need to be to make sure our events are reported in the best way as possible at current. Once upon a time, you would associate your pixel with an ad account, but now Facebook's, hey, you need to associate your pixel with a domain. And so you need to associate your pixel with your domain. So there's only so many events that going through Apple's API protocol that they're allowing to pass through. And so Facebook, of course, is confined to those restrictions. So this is how to go about setting up those aggregated events for your view contents, your purchases, your add to carts, and then the priority of those events.
If you just follow that what's it called, the breadcrumbs there that we have on that checklist, basically it takes you to this page here, because it's confusing. What is this? I thought it was 8. Why is there only 5, 4 here? So keep going and then we'll address that.
So when we look at the best way to prioritize these, what we had done here, what Keith's showing us here is basically inside of your events manager, you go to your aggregated events management tab, which is right next to your pixel, and this pops up, and you're able to, as long as you're an admin on the account, you're able to update these. Now it says 8, but here we only have 5. The reason for that is the top one, the purchase one, if you toggle that little value optimization, it actually looks at the range of your purchases. So let's say you have I'm going to make it really easy math for myself, but let's say you have a range of purchases from $0 to $400 or something like that. And Facebook is going to, you can't do the actual value like you used to do. You'd go down to a dollar amount. Now it's going to break your values into 4 equal chunks. So it's going to be 0 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 300, 300 to 400. And so you have 4 of your slots are basically purchase A, B, C, and D, which are basically a fourth of your overall range. And so I know that sounds complicated when I just said it out loud, but just know that you can still optimize for high purchase values, or you can offset low purchase values. But now it's just a broader quarter of your purchases. It's not down to the actual value. So if you take that out of the equation, you now have 4 additional ones that you can add, that you can put in there. And with that, we used to put the second priority would be something like initiate
just real quick, I'm going to jump in just to.
No, please go ahead.
So if I turn this off here, I still have to submit it, so I can turn it off. If I turn
you can cancel it.
Yeah. So then I can now, I only have 4 events out of the 8 total. So I can add more if I want, is what he's saying. Now, if right now, if I turn this on, I can either do 4 or 5.
Oh, they added 5.
It's weird. We had it at 5. Yep. And so, but the reason why I can go up to 5 is because there's only 3 down here. It has to be 8 total. So if I had another, like if I had a application booking, we use a purchase conversion for application books. So that's why we don't have that. If we had some other, add to cart in here, then we would only have, if we had add to cart and let's say a complete registration in here, then we'd only have 3 available here to use. I'd have to use 3. So that's the reason why we can have 5 ranges. And then what they do is this here is what Josh was just talking about. So one thing I want to ask you just to clarify this up is it says it comprises of at least 4 distinct value set ranges, such as $10 to $15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30. So Josh, is this something that you can adjust on your own, set your ranges, or are these ranges, does Facebook set those up based on your product pricing?
No, those are something that is just an equal. They basically split those ranges automatically, unless it's been updated since we last did it. If you guys are aware of any updates, but It just basically does an equal fourth based on the lowest range and the highest range they see. And when it says 5 there, it might actually split it now into 5 different ranges. So that's
Yeah.
cool. But when I last did it, it was 4. So it looks like they're letting you slice up your purchases based on value a little bit more. And this would really only be worth it if you're actually doing value optimized ads. Otherwise, you might want to get more options that you can optimize for. One other important distinction here too, and I don't know if this is obvious to everybody, but some people might be looking through here and be like, hey, why can't I optimize for page view? Page view is modeled, so it's automatic. You should be getting all of your page views coming through automatically. And so one less thing you have to worry about when you're looking at the events you want to optimize for, page view is automatically coming through as a every time modeled event. So don't worry about page views. But in our case, we do a lot of view content retargeting. So in our case, we might have view content. You can just pull it right up underneath purchase. And if that's the case, there was a time, and I saw it in the notes, that they said you had, and we've lived through this, they might pause your ads for up to 3 days if you make any changes to this. Supposedly they've stopped doing that or minimized that downtime. So I'm afraid to do it still. But if you guys have done it and noticed that they didn't change it, then
We haven't done it, but I know, yeah, Penny shared something where they did say that they removed that, but
Yeah.
So now they're saying it can take up to 72 hours for the changes to take effect, and that for a 72-hour period, it could be the old or the new order, that like you're not guaranteed what order you're going to be, like what the priorities are going to be, how you have them set.
Hey, Keith here, quick interruption. If you like this video, if it's helpful, if you're having any aha moments, we appreciate it if you just let us know. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down if you don't like it. Share it, comment, ask us any questions you have. It really does help us as well. And it sends a signal to the algorithm that this video is valuable. So if you do that, we appreciate it. And as I hope you appreciate the content that you're learning right now. All right. So let's get back to the video.
Oh yeah.
And Josh, one thing you touched on that I want to make sure everybody understands, you need that value. You need to use the value if you want to be able to optimize for value. If you don't care about optimizing for value, there's really no upside to doing that value tracking and using your events for that, unless you're like, you only have a few things that you really track.
So if
I would
you have a
imagine
webinar
that
funnel and you sell one product, what would be a couple times when you wouldn't? If you have e-commerce, if you have a lot of products, if you have upsells and downsells, you're going to want to have value on probably. But
I would say that most e-commerce people are not using the value though. I think most e-commerce people right now are just using purchase optimization and not optimizing for value, in which case I would say of the people on this call, maybe 1 or 2 are actually using value optimization. And so again, don't do this just because it's available. Do it if you're going to use it.
And you have to have there's a little bit of gray smoke and mirror in the Facebook world of, you have to have a little bit of critical mass to be able to do the value optimization anyway. So if you're just launching a new store or a new product line or something like that, it may be a little while before it does you any good to be able to optimize for value, to capture the value and then optimize for value. If you have an offer that's validated and you have upsells or downsells or all that kind of stuff, whether it's info products or e-commerce, then you're probably leaving money on the table if you're not optimizing for value. But
I think the guys that aren't in e-commerce are missing out, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think they should be.
Yeah, for sure.
Some campaigns at least.
And that's the thing, is whether you have e-commerce with multiple products to sell or multiples of a product, or whether you have an info-based product, like you're still probably leaving money on the table unless you only have a single item you're selling.
Okay. So on this, the reason, just to clear it. So if I only had 4, if I selected 4 here, notice this now is green. I can add an event, 7 of 8. I go back to 5. That's not green anymore. So that's because 5 plus 3 is 8. Just to make sure, full clarity there.
Cool.
Okay. Hopefully that clears that up for anybody that had any confusion.
So it's a good reason to clean the house with your event management if you can, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great point, Josh. I was chatting with another agency owner, and they've more or less eliminated all their custom events. And I've gone all standard events now for that
That'd be
reason.
my recommendation. Yeah, if you can, just go.
100%.
I think they actually convert better too. I think Facebook likes to see one of their standard events in there rather than some custom event. They can understand it better and they have more data they can tap into. So another reason that I would recommend it.
Yeah, and I think what I've heard from a couple of different people, and there's still it like I like shudder every time I hear somebody that's like a Facebook ads expert teaching people to create all these custom events to track ads. Because if we think about how smart the Facebook AI is, if we tell the algorithm and the AI, I want you to go get a lead. 3 months from now, I want you to go get a lead. We're teaching it what that looks like. It can repeat that over and over, like training a dog. And if we tell it, I want you to get this XYZ webinar on this date, how's it going to know to go find more of those? Because we're going to name it something else for the next one. And so we're not teaching the AI something that can be repeated when we use those custom conversions, whereas we are teaching it something that can be repeated when we're using a standard event. So I tell everybody use standard. You can set up a custom conversion and track that in your reporting, but optimize your ads for standard events.
It's so much easier to optimize on multiple events that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
Cool. Good stuff.
That's a great share right there.